most traders miss and makes them quit within their first year. Engineering your wins in trading. My last video about red flags that quietly destroy your trading account. This video is the other half of that conversation, because it's one thing to see a problem and it's a totally different thing to actually install a solution to that problem. And most traders hear the word neutral and they think it's a personality trait, and it's just not. Like, you really think I'm just not emotional, I'm naturally calm, I'm wired for this, I'm made different, I'm built different. And that is literally not how it works. Neutrality is how your system is built. And if your system is built incorrectly, there's no amount of discipline. Hear this, there's no amount of discipline or mindset talk that will save you. In my last video, I talked about red flags like emotional wins, brushing off your losses, trading to feel something, urgency after drawdown. That's all I'm gonna say here. You need to watch that video in detail. Again, it is linked here, up in the corner. Now, those things are not character flaws. They are signals that your structure is missing. In this video, I'm going to talk exactly what that actually means and show you how neutral traders actually build neutrality as a skill, and it's not something that you have to force. It just becomes the default. It becomes who you are, right? So the first step is neutrality is created by math first, not mindset. Math over mindset. And this is where people get this so backwards, because they think they can think their way to being calm. A lot of traders tell themselves, I'm not going to revenge trade. I'm going to stay disciplined. I'm going to stick to a plan. But if your sizing is wrong, if you're leveraging too much money, if you think that having margin or having access to margin or leverage automatically makes you think that you'll be able to handle it, you're wrong. Because your nervous system is going to override that mindset every single time. It doesn't matter what you're thinking in your head. Your nervous system is going to overshadow that. So if one loss feels really heavy, if one red shifts your entire mindset, if one bad trade makes you feel really bad, that is not emotional weakness. There's no way to discipline yourself through that. It's just that your risk is too big for your nervous system. And neutral traders don't feel calm because we're special. We feel calm because one trade cannot hurt us emotionally or structurally. So the first way that neutrality is built is so simple. Your sizing of your trades so small that urgency cannot exist. So if urgency is possible, neutrality is impossible. That is what I want you to remember with step one. Now, step two, you want to design your account so nothing needs to be fixed. This ties directly to the red flags video that you can watch here. One of the biggest problems I talked about in that video is the need to bounce back. The feeling of, I need to get this money back. I need to fix what I just did. And neutral traders, we just don't feel that feeling. It's not because we don't care about money. I personally care about my P&L a lot, my monthly P&L specifically, but it's because our structure never actually creates a hole in our trading. So we don't allow one trade to put us behind or damage our confidence or trigger urgency or change our behavior. We just design our system so that losses are already absorbed emotionally. And that is not discipline. It is architecture. It's literally engineering your wins in trading. So if your account design requires emotional strength to survive, it's not designed for consistency, because you're a human. I hope that didn't go over your head. If your account design requires you to be emotionally strong to survive, it's not designed for consistency. So here's step three. You treat your internal state like your edge. This is honestly where advanced traders are separated, because in being a neutral trader, you don't just check the charts. We check ourselves. We know that if I'm tired, I'm not neutral. If I'm rushing, I'm not neutral. If I'm stressed, I'm not neutral. We understand there can't be overlapping or incoherent things. We understand that if I'm emotionally charged, I'm not neutral. And so we just don't trade. It's not a punishment. It's not, you don't deserve to trade. It's literally protection of our account, because we respect neutrality way more than an opportunity. And this is the part I want to say, because I get comments on my page. There's this feeling of needing to make money or go in to make a trade. It's because you actually respect opportunities more than you respect your actual neutral behavior. So what we understand is that missing a trade is cheaper than trading misaligned, period. And this directly is going to solve multiple red flags from that first video. I recommend you go watch it. And you're no longer brushing off your internal state. At that point, you're building the internal state into your rules. They're baked in, so you never have to worry about it. Step number 4 to becoming a neutral trader is removing emotional spikes on green days. This is so big because us neutral traders do not celebrate wins emotionally. It's not because we're boring people. I might be boring, who knows? But y'all aren't boring. It's because we're trading emotional consistency. I'm not going to let a green day become an emotional event, period. Why? Because whatever you emotionally reinforce, your nervous system is going to want that again. So when you train excitement around the outcome of winning, now you're always chasing the next win. And subconsciously, you chase that feeling over and over and over. And guess what that leads to? Sometimes it leads to green, but 99% of the time it leads to overtrading, oversizing, forcing your setups. Neutral trader, let the wins be data, not dopamine. My green days are simply green days in my trading log, in my trading data. They don't really matter to me. I care about realizing those funds to my bank account. Step number 5 is normalizing losses instead of personalizing them. This is the secondary to what we just talked about. So in the red flags video, I talk about how some people blame the market or they dismiss losses casually, but neutral traders, we do neither of the two. We study without emotional charge and we ask questions. We study our trades, we study our previous action, our previous positions, right? And we say, was it the market or was it me? And we adjust based on structure, not on identity. So what this means is what I'll do is I'll pull up my monthly P&L. I will go through all of my trades and I'll look at my data sheets and I will look at all of my data and I will say, were these wins because I was actually trading who I was supposed to be? Were these losses because I wasn't who I was supposed to be? Or was it just a bad win? And that's how I go through my data. I don't say I'm bad, I suck, all these red days are bad. I say my process needs refinement. That keeps the ego out of it. The ego is gone. And that keeps neutrality intact. So step number 6 to becoming a neutral trader is build routines that protect your nervous system, because neutrality is fragile if it's not protected. Neutral traders, we have very boring habits. Consistent routines, consistent gym routines, consistent sleep, consistent breaks, limited screen time, clear trading rules. And it's not because I'm so strict with myself, it's because I understand that my nervous system is my execution engine. So if I burn out, then my strategy doesn't matter. You can have a 600% gain sitting as an opportunity and you completely miss it because of this. There's no way to out trade that. Your nervous system is your execution engine. You do not want to burn it out because it doesn't matter what you do, your strategy won't matter. This is exactly what most people miss after watching the red flags video. They see the behavior, but they don't change the structure. You went through the 10 red flags and you saw yourself in 3 or 4 of them, but you don't change the structure. So in my free private training, I walk you through how to build this, actually understanding the design behind your rules and how to create a system that makes all this automatic. It's the first link in the description box. If you want to go deeper and watch that whenever you're ready, you can grab a coffee and watch it. It's about 15 minutes. With actionable tools you can actually walk away with and use starting on your next trading day. So step number 7 is you stop needing to feel like a trader. This one is so subtle, but some people trade to feel like they're in the game, like that you are this thing that's called a trader. And neutral traders don't need to feel like traders. We don't need action. We don't need validation. We don't need to trade because we want to. We only trade when the conditions are right. That's it. When identity is not attached. Because when identity is not attached, your neutrality becomes easy. So the real thing I want you to take from this video, if you haven't taken notes already, I recommend taking notes at this part. Neutrality is not emotional suppression. It is emotional irrelevance. Your emotions do not run the process because the process was built to not require them. So they're literally irrelevant. That's why neutral traders look really calm. It's not because we're calm people. Maybe I am. But there's nothing in my trading system that threatens me enough to go into an emotional swing anymore. And this is what I didn't have before. So I want you to take this because it took me months to figure this stuff out. So if you watched the red flags video and you thought, I see myself in about 3 or 4 of those, that's definitely me. I want you to think that that's a good thing. It's an opportunity to fix it. And this video was the opportunity. This video is how you fix it. So go back and watch this video 2 or 3 times and don't try harder. Just build a smarter system using what I literally gave you in this video for structure, because structure is going to beat willpower every single time. And if you want the full framework for building neutrality as a skill, not as a personality trait, I walk through it step by step in that private training. It is free. It's really short. It's like 15 minutes. You can watch it tomorrow while you're eating breakfast. And it's very practical. So the link for it is the first thing in the description box. Be honest with yourself for a second. By the time you're analyzing a chart, the trade was already decided. And if that makes you uncomfortable, good. Because that discomfort is the point that most traders miss and makes them quit within their first year when they're perfectly capable. So in this video, I want to explain something most traders do not want to admit. It's that the chart isn't actually where most decisions are made. The charts are just where decisions were justified. Traders absolutely love to believe that they're objective, which means things like you wait for confirmation, you follow your rules, you let price tell you what to do. We've all said those things, but that is not actually what is happening. What's actually happening is this: feeling shows up within you, and then the charts get involved. You don't automatically turn on your feelings when you open up TradingView in the morning. No, when you wake up in the morning, there's a feeling that is internally there. You do not wake up neutral, ever. You're never undecided, right? When you show up to a session to trade, you're already carrying either the good day from yesterday, the bad day from yesterday, the pressure to perform. It's the last day of the month. You want to make sure your P&L looks really great. Maybe you have some overconfidence from trading. There's maybe even some frustration that you feel, right? And once that internal state exists, the trade has already been leaning towards one direction. And the chart is simply permission at this point. And this is the part that nobody really wants to say out loud, which is fine, but it's true. You do not enter a trade because the setup was perfect. You enter because you want to be in the trade. You feel like this is the trade that's going to go great, it's going to shoot up, or that you don't want to miss out on a certain move, or you just want to confirm who you think that you are today. And the chart never decides. The candlesticks don't really decide. They just give you permission. It's just the way that you act out those decisions. But here is where traders actually get stuck for years, or they quit within their first year. It's because they get very, very aware of this. You will legitimately have a journal, and then you write things on the journal saying, I entered too early, I forced that trade, this was an emotional trade, I shouldn't have done that. And then you think in your head, oh, I see it on paper, I know what I did wrong, so now I can fix it because I know what I did wrong. But awareness was never meant to be the solution. That is why on the first of the month you can write down a problem, and then 30 days later you're writing down that exact same problem, and then a month later you're writing down that exact same problem again. It's because awareness only names the problem. When you're aware of something, you're aware of a problem, you're aware of something that you're doing, that doesn't interrupt the thing that you're doing. So you know that you're emotional, but you can still click the button, even though you're aware of it. You can recognize that you have the urge to want to trade, and then you can still go and trade, even though you know you're not supposed to. You can literally predict a mistake that you're going to make and repeat it anyways. That is not a lack of intelligence. It is a lack of containment. And you're going to journaling thinking that it's going to give you the structure and the containment that you need. But the traders that I work with didn't suddenly gain more insight. They did not become smarter or more intelligent. I only work with traders that already know how to trade. What they did is they stopped relying on awareness to control their behavior, because it simply doesn't work like that. It's never going to stop your behavior just because you now notice it. So if you've ever said, I don't know why I took that trade, and you wrote down in your journal or thought to yourself, I knew better, right? I want you to comment down below the word state and see how many people are also dealing with that same thing. And if it feels like your best intentions always disappear the moment the 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, the markets are open, as soon as it becomes Monday and now it's time to trade and all your intentions go out the window, it's because the decisions do not start on the chart. They start within you. And every day that you ignore that being the fact, it's going to continue to perpetuate itself. It's going to keep happening. So I want to give you 3 things that you can do immediately to interrupt this before the charts ever get involved. There's a private training that is linked in my description box that explains it clearly. It's free to watch. Definitely go watch it. 2 traders can look at exactly the same chart, the exact same market, the same candles, but one pulls out money and the other one is giving the market money. They're going into debt, or they're just simply walking away empty-handed. And it's not the market's fault. So let me show you something really quick that flipped the way that I personally trade, because there's a line in Proverbs that talks about, it's Proverbs 23:13 or 23:11. I think it's 23:13, where it talks about a poor man's farm may produce much food, but injustice sweeps it all away. And you don't really have to be religious to understand the wisdom here. So I want to just break this down, because even in the fitness term, right, I have a personal trainer, and my personal trainer has taught me a lot about how to get to my specific aesthetic goals for my body. But it's like, there might be someone else in my group, right, in my personal training, like group coaching, whatever, and I am getting the results that I want, but the other person is not getting what they want, right? Same thing. Going to the same market, same candles, one person wins, one person doesn't. Same thing with this. We go to the same coaching program, eat the same things, right? But I am actually getting the goals that I want, but they're not. In that case, it's most likely because of the way that they actually do the other half, which is the working out portion. So if we're both eating the same things, we have the same coach, we know we're both eating well, but I work out and they don't, guess what? It doesn't matter what else is the same. We're going to get 2 different results. And that's really, the point is that food is not the issue. It's the actual consistency behind how the person uses the food. Because me, I'm using the nutrition to my purpose of getting the body that I want. But what they're doing is they're eating and then they're not using the nutrition, and now they're probably gaining weight, or they're just maintaining weight, looking the same, or looking worse, or feeling worse. So that one person, so that's me, I'm taking advantage of the whole system, the whole program, doing exactly what my coach tells me to do, and then they're kind of half doing it, and they're getting their half results. So think about the Proverbs verse again, right? It talks about the farm. In this aspect, the market of trading is your farm. Every single day, it produces enough opportunity, because it produces trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars circulating every single day. And somebody winning does not mean that you make less money. That's not how trading works. You cannot afford to believe that. One of the myths about trading is that, oh, well, you know, we're fighting against these buyers and sellers, and if I win, then they lose, and if they lose, I win. It doesn't work that way. That's not how the markets work, and you cannot afford to be believing that, because if you believe that, you're going to set yourself up to lose so much more than you need to, because that's not how it works. How it actually works is like a farm, right? You go in, you can harvest whatever you need to, and then guess what? Everybody else gets to harvest whatever they need to. My land doesn't contradict your land, and your land doesn't contradict my land. Everybody's land is different. The point that I'm making here is that most traders do not fail because the market is unfair. They lose and they fail, or they quit before their first year is even up because they never build the thing that can collect the opportunity. Okay, that's the difference. Think about it. If you're working out and you're eating right, you're going to get the body. But if you're eating right and you're not working out, you're not going to get the body. You can never capture the opportunity of all the good nutrients you're giving your body, right? That's literally the cheat code. Put good stuff in your body and use it the right way, and those two things together get you the body that you want. But what most traders think is they take one class, they watch one video, they practice one time a week, and then they think that that's going to translate into dollars or profitability, and it's just never going to do that. So if you actually want to be able to use the opportunity that you're looking at every single day, then my channel is definitely a great place to start. Everything is in one place, step by step, very clear for beginner traders, in a playlist. But if you want to watch my real life trades, watch me trade, and basically copy how I analyze the charts and copy how I analyze candlesticks, then my watch and learn playlist will definitely be for you. So that is basically how you turn all the nutrients from the food into muscle and to being ripped and shredded. It's the same thing. Use all of your market to extract the opportunity it gives you every single day. So I'll see you guys in my next video. You will pay market tuition for the same mistake 10,000 times in the market. Doesn't care. There's no limit on how many times you can pay for a mistake. Like, you're in the game of protecting your neutrality. You get paid for doing that. You get paid, and that is how your accounts are going to slowly bleed by 1,000 paper cuts. You lose all of your humility and neutrality, which are the two things that you need to be a profitable trader. Talk about yourself on a red day and how you talk about yourself on a green day is literally the split that's dangerous. Let me say something that might sound a tiny bit uncomfortable at first, but most day traders do not blow their trading accounts because of strategy. They blow their accounts because of who they are while they trade. Not who you think you are, not who you say you are, but who you actually are in a moment during your trades. And this can be emotionally, energetically, and most importantly, behaviorally and habitually. And I want to talk through some red flags that I've seen over and over that quietly tell me that account is most definitely in danger this month. And it's not because you are dumb, it's not because you're lazy or you're not disciplined. That's not a good excuse. And it's really not the real reason. It's because your internal state is not aligned with what the environment actually requires. And I did not just make these up. These are patterns that I've watched in real time while being in large trading communities, while teaching my own trading students, while having my own coaches, literally with traders who have experience. My friends who are traders, with people all across the board who technically know better, and yet they still carry the same behaviors that almost guarantee instability every single time. So I want you to listen to this, not to judge anybody else, but to see if you recognize yourself in any of what I'm about to say. Because if you can catch it really early, then that's great, because you can fix it early. So the first red flag is you blame the market on a red day and then you praise yourself on a green day. This is a huge one. When you have a red day, it's the market was choppy. There was some news that came out, and sometimes the market is choppy. Sometimes there is some news that just randomly comes out. Other things like, oh, it just reversed on me. Oh, that's just trading. This is just the cost of business, right? All of these things can be justified, but let's be honest. You say that when it's a red day, but then when you have a green day, it's, I didn't make any mistakes. I executed perfectly. My patience is elite. I know what I'm doing. I'm so in sync with the market. And the split between those two, between how you talk about yourself on a red day and how you talk about yourself on a green day, is literally the split that's dangerous, because it tells me something about your identity. It tells me that you are taking ownership when it feels good. You're taking ownership of the profits when it feels good, and giving away ownership when it feels bad. And that means that you are not actually neutral. You're not actually aligned. You're protecting your self image instead of studying your behavior. And real alignment is going to look like something like this, right? You have a green day, and you're going to say, what did I do right structurally? What are the things that I did that resulted in this in my behavior? And then when you have a red day, you're going to say, well, what did I do wrong structurally? What actually happened? Not asking yourself that stuff emotionally, not blaming yourself, not with the drama, because that is where I used to actually talk about myself in a really bad way because I knew how to trade, but I would have a red day and I would blame everything but myself. And then when I started to look towards myself, I could only do it through shame. But I want us to start talking to ourselves through structure, because if you can't look at a red day and calmly say, here's exactly what happened. I was off internally. I skipped XYZ steps. I didn't follow the procedure. I did not do what I was supposed to do. If you can't do that, then you're setting yourself up to literally repeat it. We have many red flags to go that I'm going to explain so deeply. So go ahead and hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss out on other videos just like this. The second red flag is you celebrate wins extremely emotionally. This one is so subtle, but it is huge. You get really hyped after a win. You get amped up. You start playing music. You start feeling like you're the one. You're on one. You start feeling this spike of emotion. Your energy just goes to cloud 11. We're not on cloud 9. We're on cloud 11. All right. When that happens, that means your nervous system is attached to an outcome. And at that moment, when you attach to an outcome, you lose all of your humility and neutrality, which are the two things that you need to be a profitable trader as far as your internal state. So here's actually what most people don't want to hear. Is that if you're emotionally high when you're green, you will be emotionally low when you're red. It's not a personal thing. It's literally how we're wired as humans in our nervous system. You cannot train your system to only spike in one direction. You cannot try to be neutral when it's red and then always be happy when it's green, or vice versa. And you can't expect it to not swing in the other direction, because neutral traders don't get high on a win. We don't get crushed by losses. We actually do care about our trades a lot. I care about my monthly P&L a lot. But it's because I actually understand the fundamentals of it, that when your emotion spikes, you create future emotional debt. And I'm going to explain that, right? When you're celebrating an outcome, and you're playing music and you're getting amped and you're riding that high, that is the red flag. It's not because wins are bad. It's because you're attaching your emotions to the outcome instead of the behavior that led you there. Who was I being? What did I just say I was going to do that I did? What rules did I follow? That is what you need to be focused on, not the actual numbers or the win. And the attachment to the outcome is going to show up in the next drawdown. Red flag number 3 is you brush off your losses casually. This one looks so mature on the surface. I've seen experienced traders do this, but it's actually not mature from my viewpoint. This is just me and my own ideal, right? When you have statements like, oh, well, it just happens, it's just trading, I lost 3K, whatever, the market just reversed, who cares? It sounds very mature on the surface. It sounds very calm, but it's actually avoidance, literally. Because what you're doing is you're skipping your internal audit. That behavior that you had that made that red happen, that made that red trade manifest, you're skipping that internal audit. There's a difference between acceptance and dismissal. Acceptance is when you say, I see exactly what happened and I take responsibility for my role. But dismissal says, I don't want to look too closely and I'm just going to move on. I don't actually want to dig deep into what I did wrong or my wrong behaviors. I'm just going to kind of just move on. I don't want to look at that too much. And dismissal allows patterns to live. That's why this also is exposed in your journaling. And you don't need to shame yourself or spiral. You don't need to beat yourself up. None of that actually works. But what you do need to do is bring light to yourself. What were you doing internally? Did you not look at your internal state before you started trading? Did you stop and say, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm on a high from that big win yesterday. Maybe I should not trade the open. Maybe I shouldn't trade New York Open. Maybe not. Did you ask yourself about your patience level? Oh, I just got in a big argument and I tried to separate that and not look too closely at how that could affect my trading, but I went ahead and traded anyways, knowing that I can't really separate the two things, right? Did you talk about your execution? What did you violate on your own standard and your own rules? And if you skip all those things, you're teaching your system that misalignment is normal. And that misalignment is what you're going to continue to repeat. And that is how your accounts are going to slowly bleed by 1,000 paper cuts. The fourth red flag is that you don't take your internal state seriously. This is one of the biggest ones. Oh my goodness. If you trade while you're tired and you're agitated and you're distracted, or you had a really bad trading day and you treat it like it doesn't matter, that is a red flag. And it's because your internal state is part of your edge. It literally is the edge, BTW. Everybody knows support and resistance. Everybody knows supply and demand. Trading is not just the charts. Your edge is literally who you are as a person. It's either calls or puts. It's really not that much of a complicated system. It's who you're being. So yes, your internal state is literally your edge. If you don't check your momentum internally, you're gambling your execution. And trading is not just the charts. It's decision making under uncertainty. Either your nervous system is stable enough to do it or it isn't. But if you wouldn't trust yourself to make huge life decisions while you're in that type of state, why would you trust yourself with capital in a trading account? It doesn't make sense. Neutrality is not a luxury. It is a requirement of your trading. Red flag number 5 is you're trading to feel something. This one is super silent, but a lot of people trade to feel powerful and feel like they're active and feel like they're doing something. Or maybe you're just bored. Or maybe you feel some type of stress and you just want to see some green numbers on your screen. All of that is a red flag. And personally, I've turned all the colors off of my trading platforms. You can just change them to gray, black, and white. And what that's helped me to do is, one, be way more profitable, more than I ever could have understood how deeply the colors were affecting my trading. But also, even on your candlesticks, don't make them red and green. Change the colors of your candlesticks. It's going to help you so much to emotionally regulate. If you haven't tried that before, I definitely suggest that you turn off your colors. So yes, all of that is a red flag because now trading is regulating your emotions. I talk about this in my videos all the time, but once trading becomes emotional regulation, your account is no longer a priority. You're going to try to get your feelings to feel better under any means necessary, including wasting and blowing an account. And that is not a neutral operating system. And professional and consistent execution comes from, I trade when my setup is here, not I'm trading because I feel like it's time to trade and I feel like I'm just bored and I feel like I need to win and I feel like I feel all that. It's not gonna, please. Needing a feeling is a structural flaw, but you can fix it. Red flag number 6 is you confuse activity with progress. You think that more screen time, more trade, more lives, more sessions, more charts are going to all equal better trading, and they simply do not. Actually, 99% of the time, from what I've observed, it makes your trading worse because now you're reinforcing something you don't want to do. Now you're reinforcing noise. You're reinforcing unnecessary information because, again, you already know how to trade. You're training your system to associate busy with profit. And you think that that is being productive, and it's really not. What's actually productive is sitting out and waiting and passing on trades that look good but not that good, are B plus, C plus, and you want to just take A plus, whatever your rules are. And so that is what helps you protect your capital and protect your neutrality. You're in the game of protecting your neutrality. You get paid for doing that. You get paid for being patient. You get paid to protect your neutrality and your humility. Red flag number 7 is your identity is attached to being correct. So if being right matters more than trading cleanly, then When your trade fails, you're going to defend a bad trade instead of studying them. That tells me your ego is in the process. And ego is so expensive in the trading markets. And trading requires you to detach from the outcome, detach from identity, detach from proving anything. And the moment that you need to be right, you're going to fight the market, and the market charges tuition for the hassle, period. That's why you will pay market tuition for the same mistake 10,000 times, and the market doesn't care. There's no limit on how many times you can pay for a mistake. And this is exactly why most traders do not ever actually fix their problem. You think you're fixing it because you think your problem is entry and setups and knowledge, and it's not. Your real issue is lack of structure and never paying attention to your internal state. If you want, I break down the full operating structure I use personally, and for my students, I broke it all down inside of my private training. It is the first link in the description box. It is free to watch. How to build neutrality, building a system to where that urgency actually never appears, and how to stop one loss from turning into 5. Again, it is free. It's about 15 minutes. You can grab a coffee or a snack and watch it at the gym or during breakfast tomorrow. And the link for it is the first thing in the description box. You can watch it whenever you're ready. And let's get into red flag number 8. You tolerate misalignment because it's familiar. This one is so deep, but people are so used to chaos. You don't realize it, but people think calm feels wrong. So they subconsciously create instability. Instability that you're creating looks like overtrading, oversizing, breaking rules, chasing moves. Nobody's making you do any of that. You're actually sabotaging yourself by creating instability. And it's not because you want to lose. Nobody obviously wants to lose. Obviously, you're not trying to make yourself lose. But it's because your nervous system is more comfortable with that intensity versus neutrality. All the intensity that you feel around that instability is what your body is used to. And calm feels so boring to you, but boring is often where the consistency lives. Number 9, you don't have structural protection against urgency. If one red creates pressure, if one loss makes you feel behind, if one drawdown changes your behavior, it's not a mindset issue. You can say it is, but that's like surface level. It's actually the structure underneath it. It's most likely that your risk is wrong, and it might be right for your account and wrong for your nervous system. Have you taken that into account? Ask yourself that. It actually might be wrong for your psychology. I see this with my students that have margin accounts and leverage. Because you're allowed to have leverage doesn't mean that you can automatically handle it. So if urgency is appearing, your nervous system is telling you, this is too much for me to process. I can't handle all of this. And instead of trying to force through it, that's actually information, and ignoring it is very expensive. And the market will charge you tuition for that every single time, okay? And number 10, you don't respect neutrality as a skill. Most day traders respect entries and setups and strategies and indicators and blah, and very few respect neutrality as a skill. But neutrality is a skill. It is trained, it is protected, it is structured. If you treat neutrality like something that you can just have over time, it'll naturally come to you, you're gonna lose in the moment when pressure appears. And AKA, it's always gonna appear because that's the market that we're in. And neutrality is not a personality type. It's your environment plus sizing plus habits plus internal discipline. That is the formula. That's what it is. So the real truth I want you to take with you is that most blown accounts and all of your blown accounts were emotionally doomed before the trade even happened. The trade was just the trigger. That's it. If you recognize even 2 or 3 of these red flags in yourself, that's not a judgment. It's literally an opportunity, because the markets are going to open every single day except for holidays and maybe even the weekends, depending on your market. You have plenty of chances to start doing this today, start becoming aligned today, and change your results forever. And awareness means you can change. If you're aware that you have some of these red flags, you can change them. You don't actually need to be perfect to be profitable. You just need to be aligned. You don't need to be fearful, just neutral. That's it. But neutrality is, it's not something you hope for. It's not something that naturally shows up as time passes and you're gonna have it when you hit 1 year. It's gonna happen that way. You have to intentionally do what I'm saying in this video. So if you want to learn how to build a trading structure that removes urgency, stabilizes your behavior, and keeps you neutral after losses, that is what I teach in the private training. It is free. It is like 15 minutes and it will change how you think about trading. It's the first link in the description. All you need to do is enter your email to get access and you can watch it for free. But recording